Quitting gaming in my early teens was tough, but it was necessary, and it was one of the most worthwhile things I did with my time back then. If I could go back in time, I would share with my younger self a handful of insights that I realized further down the road about quitting gaming that would probably make his journey 5 to 4 times easier. So here's an extensive list of some of the most practical and useful lessons that I learned about quitting gaming. The first lesson is that in order to get true freedom, I had to free myself from my impulses that were telling me to game every day. In this period of my life where I was addicted to gaming, gaming felt like a second boss. It felt like it was calling me back to work every evening after I'd gone to school for 8 hours. And that was terrible because if I didn't have control over myself and over my own actions, then gaming ruled me entirely. Gaming was my master. Gaming had this vice grip control over me that I could do nothing about. And there was just one philosopher back in the day named Seneca who said, the greatest empire to command is oneself. Basically, the greatest thing that you can conquer is your own impulses, is your own internal world of wants and desires and needs. And if you can control that, then you can control anything. You can have command over anything else once you are able to control what goes on inside your own head. It's the Stoic concept, right? But that applied to me because I had to learn to ignore my impulses. I had to learn to say no to that gaming impulse, whether I was coping or whether I just had a bad day and I wanted something to occupy my mind with, whether it was just like bad weather out and I just felt like crap and I just wanted something to distract me, or my friends were going to be online and I wanted to game with them, or whatever. I had to learn to say no to that. And this is the key exercise in willpower that I want to talk about for this video. Is that willpower is definitely a skill that you need to develop if you want to truly overcome your gaming addiction. And one way that I can help you with that is if you check out my course. The link to it is in the description below. It's about 2 hours of step-by-step material curated by me about how exactly I quit gaming in practical and actionable steps. So go ahead and check that out if you're really interested in taking your gaming addiction by the horns and conquering it for good. Moving on, the second lesson that I learned is that I need purpose. Man needs purpose to his life, or else he's not going to go anywhere. Or else he'll just go insane, basically. I think we're hardwired as human beings, but specifically men, and I think women can do this to an extent, but we're all designed to find meaning in our lives. We're all designed to derive meaning from some place. We're all looking for some kind of reason to get up in the morning, whether that's building an empire, whether that's raising good children, or maybe it's just progressing your save file on a certain game. Maybe it's just reaching the top of the ranks and becoming the best gamer that you can. But I think our body or our mind is more picky about having a purpose rather than how worthwhile that purpose is. So this ties into the first point, where you have to gain control over your mind. You have to realize what the bullshit is that you may be thinking at any certain point, and be able to call yourself out on that, and be able to keep your own mind accountable for what it says. So you can't listen to yourself is basically what I'm saying. And if you derive purpose from video games, you have to be able to shift your purpose somewhere else. This is what I had to do. I derived my purpose from the amount of gold that I was collecting in Minecraft, weirdly enough. I derived my purpose from my global smash power. I derived my purpose from how many consoles and how many games I'd collected, which kind of made me appear to myself as like this cultured, valuable human being, because I kind of like knew all this different stuff about these different gaming consoles, and because I kind of had this eye for quality that I really kind of respected about myself. But I was in my own personal echo chamber. I was in my own personal echo chamber where I thought I was valuable because I did stuff that I thought was valuable. I wasn't getting anyone else's input. I wasn't being useful to anyone else. I was just stuck in my little gaming cavern here, just validating my own purchases and validating my own pursuits of money and status and so-called skill in video games. So that didn't seem like a very depressing existence in the moment, but looking back, I realized just how ignorant I was. I realized just how stuck in my own ways that I was. And you have to be able to forgive yourself for those kind of things when you eventually escape. And maybe you're not at that point. And maybe all you need to do is you just need to you need to sit down and write about, well, what is my purpose at this point? What do I get up in the morning for? Is it just because I have to? Is it because I have to go to my job? I have to go to school? And maybe it is that, and so be it. And you just turn to gaming at the end of the day as a way to cope with that, and to kind of create this illusion that you have some kind of control over your life, because you have 3 hours at the end of the day where you're the master of your own kingdom, where you're a dragon slayer, where you're an empire builder, where you're a king, where you're a warrior. And maybe that's your motivation to game, and so be it. But just write it down, acknowledge it, own up to it. This is what I had to do mentally. And that's how I came up with these insights ultimately, is having this kind of presence that so many gamers nowadays don't have. We're just constantly, you've probably heard this rant before, but we're constantly attached to our screens. We can't look up and beyond what we're doing with ourselves on our PCs, our consoles. We don't have the kind of self-awareness in order to realize that most of what we do every day is just kind of BS, whether that's people pleasing or, as my content focuses on, gaming. So yeah, man needs purpose. And what I realized is that I would rather get up in the morning, be sleep deprived, have bad relationships with people, have substandard marks, have bags under my eyes from not enough sleep, constantly have like bloating and bad gas because my diet was shit, because I was sacrificing all of that in order to get better at gaming by just spending more and more and more time towards this all-consuming fire that was gaming. I needed to appease it almost. It was like a god for me. But yeah, I would rather sacrifice my health and have purpose than be a decently healthy person with good relationships with other people and good health, good sleep, so on and so forth, and still be gaming. But not be gaming at the same time, because gaming was where I got my purpose. And if I didn't have a purpose, if I didn't have something to obsess over, then I might as well not even be alive, right? So what we have to do is shift our purpose, bring it from focusing on one thing to another, instead of just doing away with our life's purpose at all and just trying to live like this random life where we're just trying to balance everything else and be healthy and whatnot. So that's one thing that I realized from quitting gaming. And the next thing that I wrote down, the next insight that I had, was that, well, gaming basically grants us entertainment, achievement, status, and even like an overwhelming mission to our lives. So if we do away with gaming, then we have to find something else to jump to for purpose, something else to jump to for a sense of identity and hope, basically. And you have to identify what that is for you. So maybe it would be a good idea for you to sit down like I did and ask yourself, well, what else can be my purpose besides gaming? What else in my general vicinity can be something to devote my life force to? Can be some kind of mission that may be worthwhile of my time, that would make me a better person, that would take away pain in my life, and that would take away pain in other people's lives. For me, it was something like starting a YouTube channel like this and sharing my albeit limited experience and trying to build on that every single day. But for you, it might be fitness, it might be getting a better physique, it might be improving your relationships with other people, it might be networking, it might be contributing more to your workplace. Whatever you find personally meaningful and whatever hill you could die on could be your purpose at the end of the day. And all that goes to say that has to take the place of gaming if you are to successfully quit like I did. So the next thing that I realized was having to do with friends, and that is being alone is better than being with bad company. Now, I personally know so many people who are afraid of being alone and who hate the idea of not having many friends and of being isolated. And for whatever reason, they're super afraid of it. And I can understand that, because if you don't have any friends in kind of like this high school popularity contest kind of lens, then you're a loser, you're awkward, you're socially undesirable. People don't want you around, basically. And I think that's totally okay. I think that's totally acceptable. Not only because I was a complete loner through most of high school, but also because once you get out of high school, or you enter a certain kind of workplace, or you just go into the real world and you leave the narrow walls of your high school, then nobody cares. Nobody really cares about how your hair looks or how your voice sounds, or I don't even know what's popular in high school these days. All those popularity metrics that are so important in high school don't really matter once you step into the real world. The real world is just who you know, what you have, how free are you, and that's pretty much it. So we have to do away with this high school sense of popularity, where if you don't have any friends, if you don't have anyone standing by you in your current mission, then you're somehow wrong, then you're somehow weird and awkward and unpopular, so nobody should listen to you. We have to abandon that, because that mindset comes out of fear. That mindset comes out of the fear of being alone and being rejected and being the only person on your path, which sometimes I can tell you is necessary in life. And I speak especially to the younger people watching this when I say that high school is temporary, but you are your own person, and you will have to live with yourself as long as you're alive. And if you can't live with yourself, if you can't be authentically yourself and live up to your deepest truth, your deepest purpose, whatever that is, you may not know it yet, then everyone else comes second to that. That's just the nature of being a sovereign human being. And that relates to gaming, because I had to leave my old friend group, actually pretty recently, in order to abandon the temptation of gaming again. Now, that might sound terrible. That might sound like I'm some kind of autistic loner who is like allergic to gaming and who just can't stand to be around people who are different than him. But that's not really the case. So let me back up and expand on this a little bit more. For the bulk of my gaming career, I was pretty much a loner. I was always alone when I was playing video games. I was alone in my room playing online, or just playing a different game offline, just by myself. And I preferred being by myself. I actually liked being by myself a lot, because it meant that I wouldn't be rejected by other people. It meant that nobody could judge me for what I was doing in game, or for what I was saying to myself, or for what thoughts I was having. It meant that I wasn't accountable to anyone, so I could basically do whatever I want. It was a very twisted kind of freedom, where I wasn't being held accountable to any standard. So I had this kind of ultimate freedom. But the fallback of that was that I went from being a gamer who was constantly alone to being just sick and tired of that life. I was tired of being alone. I was tired of being awkward. I was tired of my gaming addiction. I was tired of my attachments to other physical things that I looked to for pleasure. So I decided to turn away from all of that about 2 years ago from now. And ever since then, I've made massive progress. I've been clean from gaming. I've done great things with my life. But one thing that I haven't been able to get is really like true friends on this path who share the same kind of goals as me, and that's okay. Many people have that on their self-development journeys, but again, this isn't about me. So I went from that loner gamer lifestyle to kind of like this loner self-improvement guru, to kind of this person who was obsessed with self-development and meditation, presence, quitting addictions, exercising, fitness, health, all that kind of different stuff. And I was still alone. But then I started making friends with this other friend group who were kind of like this hybrid of gym goers but also gamers that I knew from back in the day. And I started involving myself with them, kind of as like this almost like personal kind of missionary work, where I would try and advocate quitting games for them. I try and ask them about well, are you gaming right now? Have you ever thought of quitting? What's your experience with that? Etc., etc. And then I realized that these people were rubbing off on me for the negative because I was surrounding myself with these people so often that, I would go to their place and we'd boot up the games. And it went on like that for a couple of months where I was returning to gaming kind of as a social lubricant, kind of like an alcoholic might go back to alcohol because it makes them more personable and more enjoyable to be around at parties and stuff like that. I had the same thing with gaming. So I had to step away from that again and go from a gamer with friends to a loner who wasn't a gamer but also without friends. And that's where I currently am and have been for months and months and months at this point. And I couldn't be happier, honestly. But the point of that is that if you're around other people who cause you to game, if you're around other people who tempt you into this habit that sucks for you, and that that sucks you in, and that it makes you a worse person than you could potentially be, and it causes you to do this habit that makes you hate yourself, then it's time to step away from that group again and return to being your own person. It's this constant process of self-evaluation followed by reasonable action and then leveling up again, right? You can't expect to stay in one place for the rest of your life because you want to keep improving for the rest of your life. So you're obviously going to be kind of this nomadic figure. You're just going to keep moving and moving and moving, whereas other people are just going to stay in the same place and they're going to rot. And hopefully, if you're still watching this, you don't want to be that kind of person where you just settle into one career space, into one set of habits, and you never keep improving. And I bet you're not that kind of person if you're still watching. So the last point I want to cover in this video is that your mind cannot be trusted. Now, your mind, up to this point, my mind convinced me to play thousands of hours of video games. So when I was trying to quit gaming, I could not trust my mind. I could not trust the copes, the stories, the supposed truths that my mind was telling me, because that was the same villainous mind that has convinced me to do all these bad habits in the first place, right? So I had to apprentice myself almost under multiple figures who I looked up to, some of whom I knew personally, some of who didn't, and seek to imitate them, basically. And that guided me in the right direction of beating gaming addiction. And seeking to imitate people who I admired, who had previously had gaming addictions and beat gaming addiction, or who had never even had a gaming addiction before, and were just living up to their potential in kind of this disciplined, gritty, very masculine kind of lifestyle, where they're focused on productivity and effectiveness and personal branding and their own mission, right? When I apprenticed myself under these kind of people that I looked up to and wanted to be like, then suddenly gaming became a shameful act because, this person that I look up to online wouldn't do this. This family member that I look up to who's older than me, they wouldn't do this because they're not a loser. So I'm probably being a loser if I'm gaming right now. So if you can add more guilt to that gaming process, if you could add the friction of guilt, of shame, of being kind of disappointed with yourself whenever you boot up a game, if you can add that kind of hardship, that kind of guilt to gaming, then that's huge. That can help you quit that much faster, because it's kind of this pushing force while also having the pull of, this person that I look up to wouldn't do that. So that's the necessity to apprentice yourself under some kind of mentor who's going to keep you from quitting gaming. Now maybe that's someone like me who's online, or maybe it's someone that you admire in person. But seeking to imitate other people in their thought patterns, their actions, is very, very beneficial, especially if you're just starting out on this journey. So yeah, seek to imitate. And those are the 4 different kind of big lessons with lots of different sub-lessons that I also mentioned that I would go back in time and tell my younger self about to save him lots of time on his journey of quitting gaming. If you want to learn more tips, about how to practically quit gaming, then you can click around on the screen here Other than that, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and I'll see you later. Bye.